Hi, my name is Nicole Scott from Mobile Geeks. Today I'm going to be taking a closer look at the HTC One M9. If you've been a fan of the HTC One series, you won't be disappointed. It's got the same great aluminum build quality. It's got a fantastic display even though it's not 2K. And we're going to find out if they stepped up to the plate when it comes to their camera. The HTC One M9 remains 5 inches with a 1080p Gorilla Glass display. Under the hood, we have a Snapdragon 810 processor, which is 64-bit with 3 GB of RAM. It's also got 32 GB of storage and a micro SD card slot that is available with a massive capacity of up to 2 TB. The cards aren't cheap, and it's not the first time we've seen this. The LG G3 actually has the same claim to fame. Overall, the device weighs in at 157 grams, is 9.61 millimeters thick, and comes with a 2,800 mAh battery. HTC has finally upped their pixel resolution to 20 megapixels on the rear and given it a sapphire lens. But they haven't abandoned their beloved ultra-pixel. They simply moved it to the front. So let's quickly talk about the display. If you think that HTC should have included a Quad HD display, I don't agree with you. I think they were perfectly fine on delivering a 1080p display. I would rather have a very good quality panel with a lower resolution than something that stresses out the CPU a little bit more and potentially eats a lot more of your battery life. So I'm actually fine with the decision to go with 1080p versus 2K. So let's check out the camera in sunny and beautiful Hanover. This is the view from the Marriott, and we're going to check out all the different functionalities that we've got. To change modes, you can just simply swipe across the screen, which is actually pretty convenient. Let's just head back into the camera mode itself and take a look at some of the options. So one thing immediately that I don't like is that there's no easy way to get to HDR. I have to press the 3 dots over here, select camera, and then head up into HDR. It's a little too many steps, especially when HDR is just so good at manipulating light and dark at the same time. Here are some photos that I took from breakfast this morning. So let's take a look at some of the other settings that are available. This is pretty much everything that you'd expect from settings on a camera. Now, if we head into the settings itself, this is a really interesting one, that we can have a 10:7 screen ratio instead of just 16:9. Of course, there's the 1:1 square. So there's also auto smile capture, voice capture, which is nice. You can say things like, no wait, actually, what can you say? I know on LG it's kimchi and cheese. I'm sure HTC has something equally as ridiculous. So video quality also all the way up to 4K. So now let's take a look at some of the photos that I snapped with the M9 so you guys can get a kind of feel for how the camera is going now. Compared to what we had at Mobile World Congress, this is definitely a huge improvement. But one thing that I am seeing, so take this packet of sugars. When you zoom in, like the edges just aren't that crisp. So I took a few just to try to see if I could get it. But you know what I mean? Like that's not okay. That's not okay that is that fuzzy like that around the edges. I mean, things should be nice and crisp and clear, and this camera just seems to be missing a little bit of that. Now, a couple of these ones back here, I think that I took this one in bokeh mode to see if I could maybe force the camera to get a lot more detail. I mean, this is actually pretty good, but then as soon as you go up to the edges of the sugar pack, you can see that it's just not quite there. Now, if we keep on going further back, these are some of the ones from a walk I took this morning. See, in gorgeous light, this camera performs really well. So this is just Hanover. Now, this is this bokeh mode where it fakes that you have this DSLR-like effect. So this was bokeh on. We'll keep on going. Actually, I think that this was bokeh on. Sorry, this was bokeh on. This was just regular, so automatic. Yeah, this was automatic. This was bokeh on. And I believe that this was HDR. Yeah, you can see that there's some overprocessing right over there. So definitely in this scenario, the bokeh on really worked well to kind of give you that depth of field. So I mean, in great lighting, this is actually quite good. So if you see how far that building is, and you can actually make out the spire, this 20 megapixel camera in good lighting conditions can really perform. Right? So if you see how far that is, that's actually really impressive that it was able to outline that. So good lighting conditions, this camera really can. It does have what it takes to be a good camera. Let's see if we can zoom in on this little person there. Now, while moving, that's not too bad. So now this is nighttime. This was last night, and as soon as this camera goes into low light, it's not great. So this photo here, actually I have a side-by-side that I can show you with the iPhone 6. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily bad. I mean, you can see the textures of the petals of the flower over here on this dead section. But when you have it side by side with the iPhone 6, it's just so clear that there's just so much depth and so much texture available in the photos. When you have a look at this, you can just see that it's kind of actually very disappointing. So, so here's me last night. It looks like I have a black eye in this photo, so I'm not a fan of the front-facing camera, but in general, this was Beautify on. The 4 megapixel shooter that we have on the front is actually quite good in low light. So let's talk about Sense 7. If HTC didn't make all the changes that they did in this iteration, I wouldn't be on board. I've never really been a big fan of Sense, and essentially it's because of this. When you navigate through, you go right to left, but as soon as you go into the app drawer, you go up and down. Essentially, I feel like I'm still looking for applications, so I don't understand why I would change directions when I'm just surfing around my phone. I mean, I get that on a website you go vertically, but in UI navigation you always kind of go horizontally. So that's one thing that's always kind of irked me about Sense. But let's get into all the things that I do like about this iteration. So they've aggressively redesigned their home screen. So we still have the large kind of time and weather up at the top. Google's there. But what's going on here? So this is the Sense widget, and this is a location-based widget. You have obviously work, home, and out, and depending on which location you're in, it will change the applications to things that are relevant to that activity. So out, car, Play Store, maps, music. Now you're going to notice these two folders here, downloads and suggestions. Not the biggest fan of either of these, but they are the two things that stay consistent throughout each of these screens. So if you go into download, it's all the recently downloaded apps, and it will populate the order of the apps based on your use of them. Now, I find this a little bit annoying because my muscle memory will dictate like when I open stuff up to, you know, where's my, well, obviously these are the new apps that I've downloaded. Where's my quadrant? I need to benchmark my phone right away. But you know, like this will be like Line and Facebook and all other things that normal people will download when they first get a phone. But if you use one more, like a new app, it'll kind of push its way in and change the order. So that'll kind of get to me. But some people who maybe never rearrange their home screen, this might be something that they really like. Now, suggested apps. Not a fan of these at all. So this is looking at what I've downloaded and then will suggest apps to me. Right now, this is basically going off of Google, but in the future, I think HTC wants to sell a bit of sponsored apps into here, which is totally fine as long as the apps are useful. So this is, I have yet to find this useful, and some of the things that I found in here have been a little bit spammy. So not a huge fan of that. But at the same time, you can get rid of them. So in the settings here, you can set locations. So you can set your home and your work address, which has been really nice. Now, this is something that I haven't been able to spend a lot of time figuring out how useful this is, because since I've had this review unit, I've been traveling. So different hotels on a very regular basis, working from different convention centers. So there's no kind of pattern that I can set on these to see how useful they are. But getting back to the downloads and suggestions, if you don't like them, you can just simply unclick that here in the settings. So what else is new? Blink feed. Doesn't look that new. But One thing again that they have done is that they've included the location aware. So that's similar to what's happening here, but it's things that are around you. It'll also suggest restaurants that are around you. Now, I have yet to see anything happen out of this that's entirely useful. I mean, and since I've been on the road, I have been Googling different places to eat. This hasn't really worked out for me, but I'm not really a fan of blink feed. Anyways, I always tend to disable this and just put in another screen. But if you like blink feed, then maybe that's something that will be for you. The thing that I love that's been added is down here. So you can see on this bottom row that the navigation bars, we have one for notifications. So one of my big problems with the HTC lineup, or the One lineup, is that the phones are always a little bit long for me. Well, not necessarily the M7 because it has a smaller display, but these boom sound speakers definitely add length to the phone. And the fact that we don't have hardware navigation keys and that this is a navigation row makes the phone feel even longer, considering that this down here isn't display. So if you have wee hands, you'll be able to easily pull down the notification bar. Totally in love with that. Now, this hasn't really changed that much from the previous HTC models. What's happening here in the navigation, you can obviously edit. There's tons of different options. Glove mode, mini, never found that useful. Yeah. Oh, and HTC Connect, which we'll get to that in a little bit later. So let's just head into these. Actually, before we head into the settings, why don't we, actually here it is, themes. This is the reason why I'm a big fan of Sense 7. The fact that HTC has launched a theming store. So this theme is the one that I have loaded onto the phone. I think that it goes really nicely with the golden two-tone. So when I pull this up, you can see that the coloring, I just think it looks really fantastic. Now, you're going to have the ability to upload your themes to the store, maybe sell them at one point. HTC is looking to make a community out of this, and this is just something that, well, I kind of think they're a little bit late to the game because a lot of other Chinese manufacturers have been doing this for a long time. So now you can easily make your own theme. When you're in the themer section, just hit this plus up here. You can choose your home image. So let's just do that. Let's head into the gallery. Maybe I'm going to pick something a little bit, one of my wallpapers from a long time ago. I'm not going to do any filter changes to it. Maybe I'll move this along. Yeah, like that. So we're going to crop that out. So let's just hit next. And then boom. Here's my theme package. So there's the wallpaper I've selected. Here are the colors that go along with it. It's changed the icons to be very similar. Now, if let's say I just want to get a little bit more personal here. Now I can choose different textures and colors. I can change my icon packs. You can change the size of the, sorry, not the size, the shape of the icon. So round or this, all these different things here. You can even add in personalized sounds. So all this is really neat. Next, give your theme a name. You can apply it now. Easy. So now I'm going to talk about something a little bit different in the software, and that's the FX editor here. Now you can go into Zoe, which is like a photo sharing platform. HTC is trying to get off the ground. There's your themes, so you can send that into the themers, but let's go into the FX editor here. So this is your essentials. So filters, tool, red line remover, all of that. But there's flare, you can draw stuff, effects. There's a lot of neat stuff in here. So shapes, you can overlay different shapes. Prismatic, so it kind of creates a little bit of a kaleidoscope effect here. And you can kind of zoom in and out. I just think this is kind of a neat little idea. One of the more fun ones is this face fusion. I didn't take any face fusion shots on this one, but let's blend cheese with this tree. So there we go. Cheese and tree overlaid together. So artistic. So if you're somebody who, maybe actually has some artistic vision, then this could be something that's good for you. But it's kind of cool that HTC has included it, and you don't need to go looking to download additional apps to do stuff like this. So let's just focus in on the settings for a quick second. There's a few things in here that I do want to mention. Here in display and gestures, we have glove mode. We can set the brightness, and this is actually on a very low setting so I can get a good visual on the camera. Now, motion gestures, there's quite a few in here. Double tap to wake up. Once you have it, you can't live without it. Swipe down to turn on voice dialing, swipe up to unlock, left to launch a widget. These ones I don't really like. But volume button to launch the camera is, I think, something that's really great. So we have a few really cool launch gestures in here. The 3-finger media gesture is here in the music player. So you just drag your fingers across like, moving the phone. Yeah, across like that. And then you can scan to see where you want to send your music out to. So this is good if you are used to connecting to a lot of speakers. Now back into the settings, let's just keep on going down. Here's HTC's boom sound with Dolby. So you can go between music mode and theater mode. Let's try this out. So here's theater mode.
HTC, we about to say it loud. HTC, we hold the crown. We're the Peter Child.
I don't know if you guys can hear the difference in the video, but one has like a little more like bass. And that one feels a little more closed. Anyways, I could just watch this video for days. But the audio on the M9, I mean, this is something that HTC has really put forward as something that they're really trying to kind of push as their premier feature. So they have the boom sound with Dolby here, and then also in their audio jack, they're going to give you the ability, if you have the right headset, to have like 5.1 surround sound on your headphones. So that's also definitely coming, but you need a special set of headset to access that wicked feature. So now let's talk battery life. You're definitely going to get through the whole day, but you're not going to be able to forget to plug in at night. With, say, the Note 4 or the Z3, you can definitely stretch it to plugging it in when you get to work the next day. That is not the case with the One M9. Now, do I recommend that you buy this phone? If you are needing great quality speakers, excellent build design, I love how rugged this phone is because I am very hard on my devices, and the One M9 has definitely stepped up with its aluminum chassis, and the two-tone design I think is really, really nice. The one thing that I think HTC needed to do a little bit better was the camera. It's good enough, but it's not great. It doesn't take down what Apple is doing with the iPhone 6 or Samsung with the S6 or the S6 Edge. It definitely does make sense to upgrade from the M7 to the M9, but not necessarily from the M8 to the M9. The difference between last year's flagship device just isn't big enough. The camera improvements are significant, but they're not significant enough for me to say that you should definitely be upgrading from last year's version. If you like this review, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Nicole_Scooter. And while you're at it, you can always subscribe to our channel and like this video. I'm Nicole Scott for Mobile Geeks.
What?